So how are you today, Lee G?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Excellent, excellent. So, of course, the purpose of our time together is to basically dig into your indicator report, and we want to talk through the results of it and just give you an opportunity to kind of unpack the information that's in there. I know it's a big report, a lot of pages, a lot of information to cover, but we really want to get to the meat and the heart of the report and help you to understand what the report is saying about your communication style, your work style, your preferred environments that you like to be in. And hopefully you can walk away with insights, to help you in your future decision making, your planning, and your goal setting. All right. So according to the report, Leji, you are a governor. ICS. A governor is basically a person who exhibits high energy and excellent communication skills and is caring and sensitive just by nature. Governors are very direct, friendly. They can be enthusiastic. They prefer to be informal and can somewhat be talkative. Since their greatest fears are rejection, criticism, and loss of security, they may worry a little bit too much about what others think. But governors want to be accepted as members of the team, and they like to know exactly what is expected of them, especially if they're going to be starting a new project or assuming a leadership role. So it makes them very conscious about the quality of their work. They expect to receive social approval, a pat on the back, job well done type of a thing. But most importantly, governors use their excellent communication skills to influence people, hence the I. And that gives them the ability to analyze people well as situations. And they're sincerely concerned about those around them. And they're always looking for the win-win. So that's a governor. Now, does that sound like you, Luigi?
Sounds pretty much like me.
Pretty much like you. Okay. You're going to find at the top a blue chart that's going to introduce you rather to all of the different styles in DISC. And, I want to talk through that with you just to kind of briefly give you a little bit of kind of background on those. Now, as you can see, the D is dominant, the I is influencing, the S is steady, and the C is compliant. And those words pretty much describe how those various styles function. But let's go ahead and get going here down to the graphs. All right, the mighty graphs. Really. And with the graphs, it's not necessarily a, it's very straightforward, really. It looks very technical, but it's really very straightforward. Let's start with that middle graph. The middle graph is basically how you were born. It's innately how you're built. Those are like those original muscles that you were born with, your original set of muscles. And so if you're looking at that middle graph, you're highest in the I, but your S and your C is also high as well. And your D is just below the midline. And then you move over to the far right graph. And that is kind of how life has taught you, what you have learned. And in this particular situation, it appears though your I has gone up and your S and C has gone down, which means you're not really using those aspects of your personality. You're not using those muscles as much, or you've learned not to use them because of life experience, educational experience, whatever the case may be. And you've learned to use your I muscles a little bit more. Now we look at your work today. We look at where you are today and the way that you feel you need to show up for others. So these are the muscles that not only was I born with, not only that I've learned to use, but this is what I think people need me to use. And you feel that people need you to use a lot of I muscles. a lot. And so you've held steady with that, but maybe you're not feeling that people need you to demonstrate as much S and C strength, and not as much D either, because the D ticked down a little bit as well. And so that is pretty much the picture that is painted of how you use your various disc muscles, how you use them now. Now, I would like to ask, when you were taking the assessment, what did you have in mind? Did you have your work in mind? Did you have your family in mind? Did you have volunteer ministry work in mind as you were, taking this assessment?
I had a lot of ministry and family in mind. If I have to be honest, that's what I had in mind. And I was very surprised with the result, because people always see me as a leader. So I went for that D. I was like, that D must be so high. And it was very surprising that it wasn't.
Well, the interesting thing about a person that demonstrates high competency or high muscles, high strength in I, S, and C combined is that often they do show up as a D. And so while it's not really a muscle, it is the combination of those that allow you to do it. So it's kind of like, being a good volleyball player, right? You just step out on the out on the volleyball court and you naturally know how to play volleyball. But maybe that's because you're a very strong swimmer. So you have full body strength. You have know how to coordinate your body. Maybe you ran track. So you have high endurance and you have speed. And so you may have done a combination of things that allow you to show up as a great volleyball player. But it's really only been the combination of all of those things that you've done that allowed you to show up with that level of skill. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah, of course. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so that's how it is for the D, because you show up willing and ready to influence people, because you show up wanting to make sure that these things are carried to the finish line, making sure that things are completed and that they're done right, and that accuracy and detail, and you don't stand down from that commitment to excellence. Those are all the things that can make you show up to the people around you as a D, but a warm and loving D, not a cutthroat.
Yes, I'm a very caring person. So
Absolutely. Okay. So, all right. Did you have any other questions, though, about anything that surprised you about these DISC results, as far as the DISC graphs and things like that so far?
I mean, everything, because I guess you always walking to the test or the questions thinking one thing, and lo and behold, the truth is revealed. So it's very confronting, but very enlightening. I loved it.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So we're going to move forward to page 9. That's the next spot I want to go to. And actually, page 8, it starts on page 8, because I want to talk about communication and your communication style, because I think that's really foundational. It is really foundational to how you show up in situations and how people are able to interpret what you like and what you don't like, what your preferences are, is how you communicate. And so let's look at that top bullet. So a governor may want social acceptance, right? One in which, an environment in which you're socially accepted and not criticized. Because as you go down to the next bullet, you'll see that your greatest fear is criticism and rejection in relationships. And so that's why you seek the type of environment that you do. So as it relates to your ideal communication settings, you like to have time to chat and be sociable, but also want opportunities to, have time to chat and share your ideas and really connect with people when, you're the type of person that if a person shares their testimony, you can really connect with them on a deeper level. You can appreciate a person's life story, and you're willing to pause in the things that you do to hear their story so you can understand them and relate to them on a deeper level. And that's awesome. But on the flip side, you don't want to be in communication settings where you have to be too aggressive or have to discipline your peers because of those fears around rejection in relationships. So, this is kind of how those fears play out. You kind of avoid being in those environments where you have to be aggressive to your peers. Now, according to your report, you like to get the details. You want to make sure you're on the same page when processing information from others, as you can kind of see in your next set of bullets there. And as it relates to that processing of information, you have those details. When you have those details and that understanding down, it allows you to really get creative with developing a process to make sure that the work gets done. Now, does that sound like you?
Sounds like me.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then the last thing on page 8 is motivational characteristics. So I want to go straight to, because I think that a lot of these kind of encapsulate what we've already spoken to, but I want to go to that particular bullet that says overuses. So your overuses are compliance and wariness. So that's kind of where that C style comes in. And now we're starting to see that the C muscles are used to kind of protect you in situations where maybe you're unsure, or to bring protection in places where maybe a person has proven themselves to be not so trustworthy. And so, that lack of trust, that wariness, and that wanting to be strictly by the book to kind of, I want to make sure I protect myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to deal with someone, this person is kind of showing me they're a little bit shady or something like that. So that's kind of where that C comes in. But you might overuse it a bit much. And so maybe some situations, can play out a little bit better, and you can understand a little bit better where the person is coming from. So when you feel that kind of C area wanting to rise up with the compliance and wariness, you can kick in a little bit more with the S and kind of take your time a little bit and really walk through the process with them and walk through the communication with them to understand better what their motives really were and what they really meant by what they did. All right. Is because this is going to talk about now you just as you are, just lead you. I want you to be thinking about, as you scroll to this page, a person that, you find it very, very difficult to communicate with. You almost, squirm, or, you kind of, I got to deal with this person. I got to, okay, smile.
I'm one at the moment.
Yeah. And so I want you to get that person in your mind, though. And I'm going to go through this sheet and read off some of the various characteristics of each individual style. And then I want you to tell me which one aligns with that person. And, we'll talk through from there. So would the person happen to be a D? Do you think they're very confident, assertive, or aggressive? Challenge the status quo, seems to like control, dislikes routine. Did I hit it on the first one? Or...
You hit it on seems to like control.
Seems to like control. Okay. And that's definitely unique to a D. But let me try C. Are they analytical, organized, and structured? Works well with a schedule, prefers to work alone, quiet and reserved?
Definitely not quiet and reserved, but this person is very method-like.
Okay.
You know what's going on. If someone's late, they freak out.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
That's the thing.
Okay. So this person could be a blend of a D and an S. Just like you have a blended style, this person may have a blended style. But to the right column on page 11, what you'll see are some communication approaches that you can take to dealing with a person of this style. So if they're a little heavy on the D, or they're demonstrating the D, then you can be direct and brief, stay in the big picture, don't get bogged down in too many details, just pitch the idea, and here's how we can start. Don't try and share all of the details because they're not detail oriented. For a decision, provide them with options because they never like to be put in a situation where they have no choice, because it makes them feel like they're not in control.
Yeah.
And then maintain your focus on results and not process. So let them know the impact. Always talk along the lines of the impact. Here's what it's going to do. Here's the bottom line. Here's how much money it's going to make. Here's the number of people that will be able to reach, and so on and so forth. And when you focus on those things, then it makes it very easy. They become much more receptive. Now, on the C side, if they're showing up more as a C, focus on the facts. So these are the facts of the case. And, don't get too creative, too inventive. Well, I think, and here's what I believe happened. They don't like that. They want to know, just stick to the facts and keep the tone very professional, because they're just a more formal person by nature. And they're not as casual, not as talkative, which, for you like to be sociable, when you're getting together with people. So, that means that's a lot of work. You got to reel it in and really just kind of, hi, how are you? How's your day going so far? Okay, good. All right, let's get started. And that's what they like. That's what they appreciate. They don't feel like you're being cold or dismissive or anything like that. So don't get in your head about, a C person, because, hey, let's just get down to it.
Yeah.
And keep, give them all the details. Again, opposite the D, because the D doesn't want the details, but the C wants all the details, and then provide them with time to analyze options for the decision. So I think a C could live with not having options if you explain to them the details of how we got here, how we got to a place where we now no longer have options, but they still need time to process. And if they have many options, they definitely want time to process so that they can have faith that whatever it is you're suggesting is the right course of action. And remember, they may ask many, many questions because they process by gathering more and more facts. And at some point, it might seem ridiculous. And it's just like, okay, all right, you have enough. You have enough.
Yeah.
What is this really about? And for a C, it's not about anything other than the fact that they just need more facts. They just need more facts. Sometimes they have enough facts to make the decision, but now they want more facts to defend the decision. And then they need more facts to promote the decision, and so on and so forth. So it feels never ending, but it really is something that they appreciate, and it provides a sense of security for them. So hopefully that is, gives you a little bit of something in your toolkit to kind of deal with the person that, is a little bit more difficult than others to communicate.
Yeah. I mean, right on point.
Okay.
Right on point.
Okay, so I want to just kind of tick back up to page 8 to close this out.
Okay.
And the reason for going back up to pages 8 and 9 is because we talked about a couple areas of, growth, areas of opportunity, areas of improvement. And so, again, we talked about you delegating more, learning how to delegate more, and standing up to those with more dominant personalities, and not being overly protective of relationships, and not to take criticism personally. We also talked about, lowering expectations in certain situations and becoming more direct, that it's okay to do that, and working on your follow through. We also talked about on page 11 that a DC blend is, someone that you have to deal with, in your life that you're dealing with, but is a little bit problematic. And, you've got a couple strategies here, but there's always opportunity for deeper levels of improvement, because there may be other combinations that you may not have anyone in your life right now, but they're a challenge. So with that being said, do you have, and it's okay if you don't, but do you have currently a development plan in place to kind of help you to, start to walk through a process of understanding any of these aspects?
I've been working on my delegating at home. I start everything at home. It's not going that great. And I guess that's when my other self comes in, and it's trying to take, I guess, not control, but it does kind of scare me that simple things around the house cannot be done. So at some point, I used to just get down to business and come and do it myself, because no one else is going to do it right. So right now I'm working on delegating, being okay with things not going as I planned, but staying away from doing things that were delegated to someone else. So I'm also working on that confrontation I need to have to get it done, because I do not like to feel rejected. So I would fight it and try to avoid the confrontation. Maybe go talk to my husband so he could talk to the kids. And now he's like, you got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of more muscle than love.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'm currently working on that.
Okay. All right. Well, if there is anything I can do to come alongside you to help with that, I do offer coaching and personal development services, and will definitely be able to work with you to come up with a personal development plan and coach you through that plan. Just please, by all means, let me know. I'd be happy to work with you, and we can set up a discovery meeting to talk a little bit more about what you would have in mind moving forward. But other than that, do you have any questions for me, Liji?
I don't. I wanted to I appreciate the fact that we did this, and I'm very thankful that today I know more about myself and I have more tools than I did yesterday. And I would love to do that discovery. I love that name. Genius.
Okay. Well, we will definitely set that up as a next step. And I appreciate your time and your patience today. And I'm glad that this process did add value to you. And so we'll go ahead and end it now. And I will be in touch.
Thank you, Kris.
Thank you, Liji.